morning. Do you know what I think we should start doing? Is just a dance or something for this bit at the beginning.
I don't know. I think we should do hand puppetry, like with a sock.
Good morning, everyone.
Or possibly with a bra that Nadia took off in the middle of our Happy Valley.
Yeah, because it's like
Happy Valley review.
No, there was a reason. Don't put it in. Just put it over there. Trust me. Yeah. Sorry, I was. You know when you've done it up too tight? I've done it up too tight here and here, and I was just like suddenly I couldn't bear it anymore.
When it's got to go, it's got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a pair of tight
It was one of
pants.
them.
Tight pants. Ooh, tight pants. Do you do pelvic floor exercises? I heard that it's just as important for men to do pelvic floor exercises.
Yeah, on
as
Friday
women.
when I was telling you on the live. We talked about it for ages on the live.
Did you?
Yep.
About men?
Yep. I said men have to do it just as much as women have
God,
to
I must
do
have
it.
been reading
I
comments.
said men's dribble after a certain age.
Oh.
Well, because it's not spoken about, that's why it just happens to men. Because
What, they dribble when they laugh?
No.
When do they do
I
that?
don't know, because I don't know how penises work like that. I mean, we can
know
hold
how
in.
penises
No, I know how
work.
they work. I don't know how they work when it comes to... Oh, I
How?
said penis too soon.
How do penises work?
Penis a swear word?
No, how do
Oh,
penises
okay.
work?
No, but like when we want to go to the loo, we just do that. But if you do that, what happens to your penis?
What do you mean?
Like I like hold... If I need to go to the loo, I can do that and I can pull up.
Well,
Because-
whilst we... Hang on, this is getting very
No.
confusing. Talk us through it.
So it was so funny the other day. There wasn't the other
It's
day.
not
This was
that
weeks
funny.
ago. I was dying for the loo. I said, I'm absolutely dying for the loo. And then we got to the park and Mark
it was
said...
in the vlog,
"Do
yeah.
you-" It was in the vlog. He said, Mark said, we better go down to the loo first. I said, no, I'm all right now. And he went, what do you mean you're all right? He goes, where could it have gone? Because when you go to the loo, you run screaming. And like, even if your dog was, I don't know, whatever, drowning, you'd still have to run to get to that loo because there was nothing you can do to stop it.
There's different things here. One is bladder orientated, as in the size of, if I drink too much water, if I go to the loo for the first time, suddenly I find I have to keep going. Does anyone else find that? Once you unzip, you can't stop going.
It's like once you put the key in the door, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like when you take the bread out of the
No, but
basket.
this is what
It's
I'm
like
trying
when you
to...
put a bun in the oven.
This is what I'm trying to establish. So I was able to then not go because I decided I didn't want to go to those public loos. So I thought I'll wait till I get home.
Yeah.
And what was it you said? You said something very funny.
Yeah, I said that you'd somehow sort of...
No.
I don't know.
No, you said
I
something
can't
really
remember.
funny.
It was
So
really
maybe
fun.
one of them
I'm not
remembers.
going to...
If any of you can remember what it was that Mark said to me in the vlog, wow, this will be good.
But anyway,
This would
going
be
back
good
to
if
this,
someone can
this
remember.
point of, so you talking about you held it in. Where did the liquid go?
Well, that's it. But what did he say? Because
No, but where did it go? That's not about.
No, but this is what
That's
I'm
not
saying,
about
so that
your,
I have
pelvic
control.
floor.
Yes, I do, because my blood, it's not good. You shouldn't do it. I was able to control it.
Yeah, I can control. I don't wet
What
myself.
happens? No. Well, why are you like running like terrified?
Because I've always had a small bladder. I mean, I've been like that since the age of 6.
No, but once, okay, I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that word again. But once it's in your pee.
It doesn't. No, it
Can
doesn't
you
work
then
like that
pull
for
it
boys either. Hang on a minute.
Can you
hang on.
pull
That
it
is
back?
a misnomer. You haven't got something like that, and the wee goes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No,
Can you
it
stop?
doesn't. It
Oh.
stays up here.
Where?
Right back up in the it's there. It's there where you're holding it, not or it's not like that.
So once it's in the channel, you can't row back.
Well, I never have the experience that it is in the channel.
Ah, okay.
It's my bursting is in my abdomen. It's not in my doodah.
Okay. So I'm glad we've got that cleared up.
So when you hang on, it's not cleared up at all. So when you go to the loo, do you test your pelvic floor by weeing a bit and then stopping?
Well,
Weeing and then stopping.
my gynecologist said don't do that. Now, lots of people do
What?
that as part of their pelvic floor exercises, but she said it will just give you a bladder infection.
Why?
I don't know.
Apparently, when you do a pelvic floor exercise, you need to hold it for 10 seconds.
Well, and sometimes even more than that. Well, this is what my gynecologist said. She said every time when you brush your teeth,
You're not going to wee, are you?
morning and evening.
Oh, right.
She said after you've had your wee,
Yeah.
sit forward like this and hold in your pelvic floor, and for the entire time you're doing your pelvic floor, you brush your teeth. And I went, oh no. She went, what? I went, but that's when I stand on one leg. Now, those of you who follow us regularly know what the hell I'm talking about when I say that, but she didn't. I said, that's when I stand on one leg.
When?
When
you
I'm
clean
brushing
your
my
teeth?
teeth.
Why?
To increase my balance.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, look, if you can stand at my age for 10 to 20 seconds like that, balanced, you're going to live longer. She said, could you find some other time to stand on one leg? I said, I suppose I could do it whenever I boil a kettle.
The reason I'm saying all this is I got one of those emails saying you must do your from the NHS saying you must do, maybe it's all this bowel stuff and everything. It's saying
NHS,
yeah,
I've
prostate
got my
cancer and all
bowel
that.
screening
They
thing
said make sure you do all of these things, but so I did
Very
it.
important.
I did it according to the instruction. Held it for 10 seconds, but there comes a point where not your bottom, but you get a bit weird, don't you? You sort of feel like I can't.
Well, your pelvic floor is weak. That's your weakness. Your weakness is showing itself in your bum.
But one thing I did manage to do was lift a 10-kilogram barbell with my
Your
prostate.
channel.
Yeah, with my pelvic floor.
So, guys, I mentioned Jane Wake the other day. Follow Jane Wake on Instagram because she's the pelvic floor queen. You'll be able to DM her and stuff, and she'll be able to tell you exactly, because it's more complicated than people think. But you're supposed to do it 150 times a day.
What, we?
Pelvic floor.
150, 10 seconds.
That's why I use a
Bring it down.
machine.
Oh, yeah. 150.
Something like that, 120, 150. And the thing is, midwives don't tell you that when you've had a baby.
I was going to share something then which is really disgusting. I'm not going to share
Oh,
it.
thank God.
No, even I'm pulling myself back from that, but it's male behaviour in
I'm supposed
toilets.
to be somewhere. What's the date?
It's the 9th. No, you've
Got
got
real fear.
You've got Phil Spector tonight.
Tim Spector.
Tim Spector tonight. That's it. Jordan Stevenson, that's a lot. Didn't realise that. Yeah.
Oh, guys, had a lovely time yesterday in the members area.
Sorry, just look at Elaine Denning's question.
Well, answer her.
No!
Just say yes or no. Nobody else needs to know what he is.
Oh, I see, because I've just...
No, well, you've shown it now.
No, I'm not answering that.
Why? When you're... Can you pee no matter what your channel is doing?
Yes, but it hits the ceiling.
Oh, Mark! That's not your fault. That's the person who asked the question.
It's not my, it's also not my fault when I'm...
Mark, right, no. Now you're going too far. Stop.
What's this new thing with your finger? It's really odd. Okay, here's a question.
Did you see my dinner lady arm there?
Here's a question. Have you ever, of your own volition, shoved
dinner
your
ladies, I
finger
didn't
up
mean
your
that.
bottom?
Listen, every child I've ever looked after has at some point started fiddling with their bum, so I'm sure I did too. But certainly as a grown adult, no. In my memory, no.
Good.
Why?
I do have, someone's just said I do have a filter. Very slight, very slight. Ali P, good Lord.
Oh, Faith Goodman, can you write down Bovril in the fast? Can you write down Bovril and Faith? Faith, I will ask Tim Spector if you can have Bovril in your fasting windows. Good question.
I'm going to start learning how to write in shorthand. Okay. Russ, all the time. Okay, so as Nadia said, what were we talking about before we came on air? You wanted to carry on the
it's all
conversation.
right.
What was it?
No, because
we're in black.
No, we're not talking about. We've missed that boat.
Does anyone else does any man here, do any men here find female conversation totally perplexing sometimes? There's a show that the guys have been watching, and well, actually I've been watching too, called, what is it? Girls in Paris? What's
Girlfriends in Paris. It's our new Chuck Away show on Hey You. It's really good, actually.
And a lot of the times, the women start very young women start talking, and it's like they're not really talking, but they're kind of skating over the concept of conversation.
Aren't women weird in the way
by
that they
making
talk?
noises.
And Maddie and I were just sort of like looked at Mark and carried on watching. And then as I'm watching it more and more, I was thinking, it must seem so weird to me. He goes, hang on a minute, weren't they all fighting a minute ago? Now they're all loving each other. Weren't they all crying
Yeah,
a
one
minute
wanted
ago?
to tear the face off the other, and then
No,
they were
but
like,
then it's
oh,
all the
cheers.
sounds, all the weird sounds that
That's
girls
the bit I
make.
don't understand. They make sounds, they say things.
I am Trina.
And you get sort of 10 minutes into sounds and speech, but nothing's been talked about.
I know.
All they've talked about is
What
being
they are
there.
talking about,
No,
don't say that.
No, all they've talked about is being there and how great it is and wow and how amazed.
But they're only young.
And nothing else happens.
Trina's asked a couple of times that, am I still following John Campbell and what do I think of the way his films go? I am watching John Campbell.
She's moved on.
And we are totally fascinated by what he is telling us, as ever, off the back of scientific data. And we are also fascinated that the mainstream press are not covering anything about it. But we've made that decision that we're not going to go into that on this channel, just because we don't want to leave ourselves vulnerable to the accusations that we're just, spouting stuff. So I would urge people to check out John Campbell, check out his films, and then draw your own conclusions from what he says.
If Stacey Randall's in the room, could you remind me, because I can't get into my phone now, can you remind me of the name? I think, is it your grandmother? It's someone's birthday.
Julie
someone
Naylor.
close to you's birthday, I think.
And
so.
Julie Naylor's 60th. We shall
Julie
sing
Naylor.
at the end. Any birthdays, we'll sing them happy birthday. Happy birthday for now, though, Julie. And we'll sing a happy birthday at the end.
Can I just say, in regards to the John Campbell thing, we've got to a situation now that even if you're pro or understanding and supportive of the concept of vaccination, if you have any cause for concern
Or questions.
that I think John Campbell sometimes does, because he looks at all of the reports rather than just the reports put out by the pharmaceutical companies, it's easy to tag people with an anti-vaccination kind of attitude. And I think that surely in a so-called free speech society is some kind of tyranny, isn't it? If you can't just question, you're not saying it's like, it's not saying, you're not saying they don't work, you're not saying they're wrong, you're not saying to people don't do them. Everyone has the right to do what they want, but if you can't ask questions, what kind of a bloody world do we live in?
we were vaccinated,
Yeah, absolutely.
so as was John Campbell, but all he's doing is sharing with us scientific research that is being done continuing on from the pandemic, which I think is really important, because we need to keep learning lessons and we need to be ahead of the game. Do you see how
Just one second, I'm going to get my other phone.
yeah. Anyway, so those of you, Mark's like really worried that Tim Spector is my new scientist obsession. Did you see my Instagram? Mark says there's 3 people in this marriage, me, you and Tim Spector. It was John Campbell. So check out John Campbell for yourselves and see what you think. Look, somebody's saying don't even say the V word, the algorithm will pick it up.
Yeah,
Incredible.
It's incredible.
It's really important to hear lots of different opinions. Isn't that what being human is? Isn't that what having a purposeful, useful brain is for?
Absolutely.
To be fluid, to listen to
Well, no,
different opinions,
that's what
to
being
not
a
stay
human
rigidly.
is.
Well,
That's
being
what
our
being-
brain is being a human, isn't it? That is what makes.
Here we go. Can we say a happy birthday to Stacey Randall's mum? Happy birthday, Stacey Randall's mum.
Happy
who's
birthday, Stacey.
60.
That must be Julie
60
Naylor.
today. No.
No. Oh.
Who's 60 today.
Happy birthday. We'll sing her a happy birthday at the end.
So, Stacey, you haven't said the name of your
Exactly,
mum,
Trina.
but we'll say Stacey Randall's mum, happy birthday. Sorry, I just had your
But
message.
thank you
put
for
up.
reminding me, Trina, that actually to say to people, just go and check out what John Campbell's saying. It's really interesting because the mainstream media is not reporting on anything. So just
Minky
have a look.
Moo, John Campbell is scaring the shit out of me at the moment, but I respect him. I mean, this is the thing. I think people always want to kind of dismiss people as being something that they're not. So as soon as you have any objective news or news that doesn't repeat or parrot the dominant narrative that the government wants us to sign up to, or the pharmaceuticals one, as soon as you have someone who is incredibly committed to medicine querying something, they become sidelined. It's so bizarre. It is literally the system only wanting to hear the bits that they want to hear.
Just reporting on
Yeah,
reports.
He's not.
Again.
It's not removing the right of people to do anything. It's just
thought.
Oh, look, lots of happy birthdays to Stacey Mum, but we'll do that properly towards the end. Okay, so as you see from the title, Prince Harry again. I felt like saying sorry.
If anyone's had enough, you can leave now.
Are his TV interviews losing him sympathy and support? Now, we watched Happy Valley and we didn't have time to watch the interview, though, of course, we're reading all the reports about it. Did you watch the interview? What I'm curious to know, guys, is...
I'm really interested to see how many people actually watched.
What I'm curious to know, guys, is forgetting what he said, did you like him more by the end of it? Did you
Shall I say while we're waiting?
Warm to him more?
I didn't watch it yesterday, but I had a lot of sympathy for both of them, having watched the documentaries. And I think I was made more aware of how we had dismissed how painful this, it can be, just like being constant barrage of stuff. And, not everybody that doesn't like them is racist, but there is a huge amount of people that are very racist, So there was, all of that. We've really thought about it. We've really been flexible in our thinking of them, and I've always liked Harry, and I sympathise with him, and I think that he is playing out to a degree with Meghan his need to have protected his mum. I feel like sometimes it feels like almost overprotection of his wife is partly influenced by the loss of his mother, and completely understandably. I also think that it is very true that when you go into any kind of therapy, stuff that you have kept down comes up. And it can be really painful for those around you. I can think of people that have gone into therapy before I'd gone into therapy, and you just think, oh, for God's sake, all right, stop going on. And then then when I had therapy, you can't help it. It just brings up stuff, because we just spend a lot of our lives, don't we, just saying, oh, never mind, just get on with it. So I think there's also that at play going on with Harry that's been brought up. He's in that very American culture where we talk about our feelings. I told you about when I lived in America for a while with a whole group of people, and every week we used to have a feelings session. And the first time I was told, the feelings session is going to be this Friday at 8 o'clock, I thought everyone was going to feel each other. I was absolutely terrified, because they were quite hippie. I thought literally everyone was going to feel each other. I was only 17 and very English, so I didn't know what they meant. And then we sat down and we all talked about our feelings, and it was just crazy. So I think he's very much in that vibration. Meghan is very much like that as well. Talk about your feelings. And so if he wasn't the prince, if he wasn't Prince Harry, this would all be kicking off madly at home. And you da-da-da, and when my mum died, you didn't come in, you didn't even hug me, and you da-da-da, and you've always been a bit of a shit of a brother. Yeah, we love each other, but it's just that. But it's playing out now in just this, it feels like just this continuous sort of like puking. And so for me, though I sympathise where it's coming from completely, and the floodgates have opened, I just am cringing now. It's just like, stop. Just, no, don't. Apparently yesterday in the interview, the interviewer asked him, what do you think William and Charles would say if they read your book? And he said, well, I don't think they've read it. What would they say if you saw the interview? Well, I would like them to say something, but I don't think they will. But if they do, that would be a private conversation. And you think, how are you ever going to have a private conversation with them again? If I were your family, I wouldn't text you. I wouldn't email you. I would be worried that even if we met in a field with nothing around us, that you would be wired. Because once you've broken the trust and talked about really deeply, yeah, you could make a mistake and said, oh yeah, my brother said this or my dad said that's something different. But to sit down and reveal the private behind closed doors conversations, I don't think there's any way back. I really don't. I think he's burnt all his bridges.
So I mean, what you're suggesting is that even if there was, say, this is not the way to trigger a reconciliation.
No.
You can't escape the fact all of this is simply to promote a book about the same thing.
Yeah,
so this is all supplementary kind of support for a book that, by and large, most of the contents of which are now in the public realm, even if they're mostly in Spanish. What you're saying is that, and this is, I think, the dichotomy that he finds himself in, is any potential reconciliation at all is going to be endangered by the fact that he's established that he is willing to share all the details of those moments. You know, it's going to be very hard for him to say, well, I've talked about this, but of course I wouldn't talk about this if we were to kind of make up. And so I do think it's a false kind of suggestion that they could in any way talk, and that now has gone.
Well, you said it would be in private. How does he guarantee?
Yeah, but all
that?
of these were in private, weren't they?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
but also the other. Let me just say the other thing that's coming through is there. I noticed on some of the kind of comments afterwards that there's a very heated sense of he's allowed to tell his side of the story, and I agree. But I think there's telling your side of the story, and then there's kind of rinsing it for everything it's worth. And there has to be a point at which, yes, you can tell your side of the story, but unless you hear the other side of the story, one has to you have to put up and shut up, don't you, at some point? I mean, you say everything and then you retreat, but he has got a 3 to 4 book deal. Makes you wonder what the hell his next books are going to be about. If
this was a celebrity, right? Say this was suddenly, who's an actor that we sort of respect that's held in a high regard? Dame Judi Dench, okay, held in high regard, very respected in the way generally royal family, and she suddenly sat down and told all these stories about a family, or about people. You'd be absolutely shocked, disgusted, horrified.
But his argument is that their silence is as aggressive or as corrosive and damaging and reputationally destructive as him saying what he's saying. I mean, let's try and get in the headspace. He feels that by omission and in the shadowy halls of sort of, I think he describes it as getting into bed with the devil, that, you know, it's a very hard, you know, in a sense, he's saying that the royal family is passive aggressive. And he's just coming out, you could argue, he's coming out and saying, he's calling them out. He's calling them out, and of course they're carrying on being quiet, and they're not going to respond. And in a sense, what they're going to make him do, because it strikes me that he's very sweet, but he's not necessarily being advised by the right people, is he could become more and more of a whirling dervish. I think possibly the less they reply or
they don't need to do anything. No, the press is doing it all for him. He's being
also
savage.
he's going to spin and he could spin and spin and spin more towards a mental health crisis.
I do. I really worry about that. I don't think he's. You know, it's a very unhappy boy. But here's the other thing. Okay, so say that we just say he needs to tell his side of the story, and I get that. I understand that, and I understand the feeling of injustice.
Got a note of that, Louisa.
Okay, yeah. But take the fact, and we're not going to say here what the things that he said about Caroline Flack, because obviously it's very upsetting for her family. Her agent has come out very strongly against him. Why bring out the Caroline Flack? Now, he's used her for advantage because he's drawing the parallel on how she was treated by the press. You know, therefore, everyone that I was with was treated this way with the press. And her agent honestly has come out really strongly. She says it's monstrous, grotesque that he's used her name and brought up things that were said about her, that yes, she put a brave face on, but behind the scenes she was absolutely distraught by how the press had talked about her. And I thought, you know what? That's actually a really good point. That is a really good point, because now we're moving into you again, not this is just about you and Meghan? Because, you know, the other day,
Well, lots and lots of women are...
Caroline Flack's mum rang up Sheila Fogarty when they were talking about this, and she was, do you know how respectful she was? She said, oh, I don't really know if I should say, I'm just going to say this. Because obviously Caroline and him had stayed
Apparently
friends.
Toby Okasanya says Caroline Flack's mum spoke for Meghan and also compared the two.
No, but she didn't give any details. She just said, I know that he, that she'd said that he was really, really crazy about Meghan or something like that. I don't know. Really crazy about Meghan. It's a very, very different thing if your mum rings up, if your mum says something and makes comparisons, than you writing that in a book, you know, about your affair, when this is supposed to be about, you know, I think when somebody's passed, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Caroline...
I don't think he would have done it with intention. But I think he did it without sensitivity.
I don't think he sat there.
Yes.
I don't think he sat there and thought this will sell more books. But I do worry that
I think he might have been.
But I do worry if you look at that and then you look at the Taliban comment, and also, you know, lots of women have come out, felt they've had to come out saying it wasn't me who, you know, rode him like a stallion.
There's loads of them that have come out.
You know, so there's that sort of, you know, but, you know, this is the trade-off, isn't it, with a publisher? They will have only signed off if he was willing to give them something no one else has got. I'm still desperate to know how Netflix feel in their virtual offices somewhere, because you can never talk to anyone there. But, you know, how they're feeling about all of the revelations that are coming out and getting a lot more press. Maybe there's some kickback and splashback on the Netflix documentary series, but, I mean, the series suddenly looks very tame compared to this. Caroline Flack's agent said... branded the Duke's actions as gross and accused him of using his past relationship to help sell his book. She said it's absolutely gross for Prince Harry to reveal such private details about Caroline Flack. I mean, to be fair, looking at the passages, he only speaks in glowing terms about her.
But the thing is, he quoted the horrible things that the press had said about her, and that's why the agent wanted to make the point that these things really hurt her.
Cowrie tomorrow. It's a really important point, and I think many people need to sort of bear this in mind, is that all of these quotes have been eagerly pulled out of context. And one has to say, when you sort of, if the Daily Mail is saying a similar thing to you, you kind of have to kind of pause and ask yourself a question, don't you? It's like, well, hang on a minute, where am I being manipulated? Where are we all being kind of, you know, built up into a lather about this? Where has this become about you Americans or you crackpot LAians kind of like attacking our British stiff upper lip? Let's face it, there's not a lot to be said for the British stiff upper lip approach, is there? It just leads to total fucking mental implode. Which you could argue is what's happening here. Tra-la-la, you just said, I keep toing and froing on that.
So do I.
I do.
I do all the
totally.
time, every day. I'm like, oh.
I mean, I think that...
The thing is, I totally support somebody bringing up stuff to a family that are ignoring it and shoving it under the carpet and talking about stuff. But I just think because there's so much money attached, it's just really difficult. That's what keeps pulling us back to the other way, isn't it? And it's just like, and then revealing really private conversations. And then that pulls me, no. So, yeah.
Just a couple of other things.
I have sympathy for all of them. Do you know that? I have sympathy for the whole bloody lot of them, because I don't think any one of this family had malicious, vicious intent. I think people make fucking mistakes all the time in their families. And there's probably not a family in the land that hasn't got some shit going down that they're not dealing with perfectly. You know, it's just...
Someone says, great point. If you start agreeing with the Daily Mail, have a stop.
Always question yourself. Oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah, always pause a moment. Just a couple of other little details that I wanted to share. Obviously, you know, he labels Camilla the villain and dangerous in an interview with US shows CBS 60 Minutes. It's his fiercest criticism yet. Interesting that he didn't share that. Well, mind you, he's got to keep something. This is the other problem with all of it.
Yeah.
The press process or the press push for anything, all of these topics will be on several documents with his publicity machine, and they will have, chopped up into bite-sized chunks the bits of stories that he's going to release to certain people. There will have been trade-offs, there will have been agreements, there will have been negotiations, as you quite rightly said earlier, Faith Goodman. All of these questions will have been pre-approved, and they will have been pre-approved along the lines of, look, sir, or whatever they call Prince Harry, look, Hazza,
Exactly,
H,
Nora.
as Meghan calls him, we're going to have to be seen to be being tough in this area. And then there will be a kind of wrestling between them of, okay, you can ask about that, but can you ask in these terms and in this way? So he's got total control of these interviews.
Absolutely.
And so he will have decided what bits will be spoon-fed to the audience. And that's the bit that's problematic.
That is the bit that's problematic, because we'll save that bit, because otherwise we won't get that big interview at that time on ITV. They'll want the juice from that. If we give that to Netflix, then what are we going to do when we do the interview on BBC? This is how this is just fact. This is just how it was. And I think, again, that makes us all just feel a bit uncomfortable with it. And the whole thing with the Camilla. So, he says that Camilla brought in her, what is it they call, operations person. Now, the thing is, it was in The Independent this morning I was reading, they were saying, the thing is, you can say that Camilla brought her people in, but how much did she know of what was being reported? Was this gossip between the different houses? Was that then passed on to...
It doesn't mean she was necessarily complicit in what that
Camilla,
person did.
You can't say that Camilla is just sitting there literally go, oh, you know what? Meghan did this or Harry did that. But that's what he's insinuating, I think.
This point's really key. Anne Illing, private conversations are private. If the shoe was on the other foot, Harry and Meghan would be suing. Very interesting. Very good point. Very good point.
It is a very good point, because...
Very good point. It's
because
one of those silences.
Because the thing is, when somebody retells a private story, okay, not intentionally, it's going to be different to the other person's perception of that private story.
Yeah, of course.
So say Charles came out and told a story now about Meghan and Harry, they could think, well, that's not how it was. This is, I'm going to sue you.
Do you not think, you mentioned this earlier,
but
do you not think in a weird way he's goading them?
He's totally goading them.
He's goading the royal family to make some comment.
They will not rise to it.
But do you not think there's a little bit of sibling stuff going on here? He knows William has a breaking point. I think he knows William has a breaking point. What's that?
Surely
Faith
William
Goodman?
having circumcision.
Faith Goodman.
Does he say that?
Surely William having circumcision is totally his private business, like it's mine.
Oh no. Hang on a minute.
Where does he say that, Faith? Is that in the book? Is that one of his...
Faith, tell us where you got that information.
Bloody hell. It gets more and more ridiculous.
Do you know, I feel really sorry for Kate. Because Kate really does play the, I bet she's bloody dying to stand up for William.
It's in the book.
It's
in the book. Lucy Heaney says it's in the book. Flipping heck. You talk about your brother's penis and... Jesus Christ, that's a bit of go back to penises. That's a curious come round. A couple of final bits that I thought was interesting. Harry said he would 100% have fought William back without therapy. So William needs to thank his lucky stars that he was being therapized. As I say about Camilla, this story I thought was a bit of light relief. He talks about he was high on laughing gas and eating Nando's chicken at the birth of his son Archie. Now, the big question this generates for me is, what the fuck did Prince Harry order from Nando's? What do we think he would have ordered?
I was just thinking that.
A double chicken pitta?
I think it would have to be a pitta, because you can't get into the bones and stuff. I think it would have been a pitta.
Yeah, I think...
He wouldn't have had coleslaw. You can't eat coleslaw.
But what would his sides have been?
He couldn't have had sweet corn on the cob. He can't
Halloumi?
Yeah, you can just pop it in your mouth.
Halloumi?
Maybe olives. Do the olives have...
Spicy nuts? No, because they could get in her eyes, couldn't they, whilst she was padding her face?
Yeah, you couldn't have anything too spicy.
Spicy nut, can't have spicy. What else do they do?
A full chicken? No, Paula. How would he have a full chicken? He's got to get in there. He's got to be... I think it's got to be pitta. You can hold it. You don't get any chicken on your fingers.
Yeah, chicken pitta. Or chicken wrap. Apparently
Wrap.
the chicken wraps are really nice. There's a sort of
But you know, with the
spark
wrap,
of
sometimes it can
sweetness.
all end up sort of falling out.
Yeah,
I
that would be
would
messy.
definitely have gone for a chicken pitta.
Yeah. Well, that's
I would have
interesting,
wanted
isn't it?
hummus, but I would have thought, no, I can't have hummus.
I think a book needs to be done about the kind of fast food. Well, not fast
could
food.
have been
but
a
the kind
wrap,
of-
guys.
Yeah, it could have been a wrap. Could have been a wrap.
I don't think it would have been a wrap.
Prince Andrew loves Pizza Express. I think it's nice to know that Prince Harry likes Nando's.
Prince Andrew's frequents. Actually, it was such an extraordinary
Haven't they
thing
got
for
a
him
sign
to
outside that
frequent.
Pizza Express now?
Do we know if he said anything about Prince Andrew?
I think he has. He
Because
refers.
that's the... Why don't you go there,
I think he
Harry?
refers to it. No, he does. He refers to it as a shameful or something, doesn't he? Shameful moment and all that kind of stuff. I think. Ruth Blanford. Well, no. Well, the book isn't out yet. The book is out tomorrow. I think the book comes out tomorrow. We're gonna have to read that book, aren't we?
Yeah.
You see, for me, I am really interested in the context of many of these things. Though I have to say, I can't think of any context that's agreeable to describe your brother having a circumcision.
No, I can't see why that's necessary.
It's going to roll this one. It really is going to roll. Oh,
Everyone's wanting a Nando's now.
Yeah, so do I. I know. I'm literally, my stomach is roaring.
Can you imagine across the nation, there'll be people in Labour today and there will be men saying, I can have a Nando's, the Prince did.
Yes, absolutely. Final thing, I think what will be happening behind the scenes with Netflix, actually, I've thought about this,
Can you do happy
is
birthdays
Netflix will be filming behind the scenes this whole process. I think Netflix will have got into an agreement with Random House, the publishers. I think, because I would be fascinated to see behind the scenes of them doing this whole press push.
I did my first book with Random House.
I'd be fascinated to know, it's not about you, babe.
No, but I
I'd be
just thought.
fascinated to know what the you know, whether they're filming that. Because I would like to see that. I would like, albeit that again, it's going to be one side of the equation, isn't it? But, you know, behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's the only way they could do the deal. Do you know what I mean? It's the only way Netflix could be shut up. Anyway, guys.
Happy birthdays.
Oh,
Happy birthdays.
God, thank God, you reminded me. First of all, Louisa Hackett, whose hubby John is a huge fan of yours, so sing him happy birthday.
Happy
John.
birthday to you, John. Happy birthday to you, John. Happy birthday, dear Johnny. Happy birthday to you, squash tomatoes and stew.
What's you can touch my cantaloupes, but you mustn't touch
You can group me cantaloupes, but you mustn't touch me plums. You can stroke me artichokes, but you mustn't touch me plums.
It's the first thing she ever said to me. Stacey Randall's mum, Julie.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Stacey
Stacey
Randall's mum,
Julie. Happy birthday to you.
Julie Naylor.
Happy 60th to you. Happy 60th to you. Happy 60th to you. Happy 60th to you. Ah, ooh. I'm 60 in 2 years.
Yeah, man, that's quite frightening.
Dina's 60 now. Did you like the Saturday show, folks? And didn't we have a nice time in the members area as well on Sunday? That was so nice. It went a bit. It all went.
Teddy's story was
story.
hysterical, and it went totally Pete Tong. But of course, you all seem to like that.
Yes.
I mean, it went terribly.
Why did you keep panicking about it going chaotic yesterday? Because it was like you didn't.
Because my arm is
They
holding the
don't
fucking
mind-
tripod
no, but
all the
they
time.
don't mind when it goes wrong.
Oh, you don't have to do all the technical
did.
wizardry.
On the Sunday show.
You just have to get a fucking Instagram dish wrong.
On the Sunday show, I tried to do yesterday, because I do quite often, if we do a live for the Sunday show, I do an Instagram versus reality. So yesterday I did these potato. How badly did it go, guys? It was so, I can't actually believe it. I might post a picture of it actually on Instagram.
They look like meteorites.
It's
very funny though.
I will not forget to ask about Bovril.
Well, no, hang on.
Faith.
Just to help. Faith, absolutely. I think that's emblazoned on her head. But we will pop something on the community tab for questions for Tim.
Yeah, Tim
Would you
Spector.
like that? Yeah, because you can't ask all of them, but Nadia will go through.
Tim Spector. I suspect quite a few people will want similar things. Tim Spector, 6 o'clock tonight, live on my Instagram. So join me there.
I've got one killer question for him, actually.
What?
Does he hit the ceiling when he urinates
Mark,
with an erection?
stop. I can't believe you've said that. Right.